Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. This is your host, Emmett Muckles, and you are listening to the Billionaire Lifestyle. I know I said that, but sometimes that's how the human mind works. But you can find it on iTunes, you can find it on Stitcher, but most of all, you can find it on emmettmuckles.com. That's E-double-M, one I, two T's, and then the word Muckles, M-U-C-K-L-E-S.com. Today, I have a wonderful guest. I've been waiting to talk to this woman. And her name is Tori Tolbert. Now, on the onset, the fact that she is the editor of Black Line magazine threw me for a loop because I have an affinity for women in business. I mean, because I want them to succeed because they come with a different energy and it can balance this planet out. But then there are some other things that other people can identify with, and we can go from the top to the bottom and mix it up in the middle. How you doing, Tori?
I'm doing great, Emmett. How are you?
I'm living the dream because I'm healthy, I'm wealthy. My wife wouldn't say so, but I think I'm wise.
Hey, we are all wealthy in our own right.
So, let me stop again because I was just listening to myself on the 6 Minute Stepdad. He had me as a guest on his podcast.
Oh, awesome.
And I hear all my crutch words and it pisses me off. And I just heard it. Let's go back to the beginning. Where did you start? Because you've been the CEO or at the head of management for several companies. So you got your education in college. And then after college, what transpired to say, I am capable and I am ready to run something of substance?
Well, when I was growing up, my mother, she always had her own business, but she was always in college. I mean, it's like as a little girl and up until adulthood, my mother was always in college, but she always had her side business. So that was one area where it started. But during college, as I talked to you prior to this interview, I was in an abusive relationship. But the thing that no one could ever take away from me was just me being social all the time. And so I decided to start a travel agency, and it did really, really well. And from the travel agency, I did that for a really long time, for years, as a matter of fact, until kind of social media took over, and then people could do all their travel online. So
yeah, that's a big one.
So, after that, I was in an abusive relationship for 12 years and still trying to, go to finish college and have my travel agency. And then so as time passed on, I ended up leaving that relationship, and I started a recruiting company with my husband, who I am married to now. It'll be 11 years on the 28th of this month. And so the recruiting agency was really, really successful. But the way I met my husband was because I was a sports agent, and he came highly recommended from his head coach at Baylor University. And so
wait. Let's back the truck up a little bit. See, so you skimmed over that. I was a sports agent, and I just, it was like, one time I played basketball or something. How did you paint me a timeline here? So you were. So you had the company that you were basically, it was in healthcare, correct? Where you were...
my recruiting company was in healthcare.
And that was with human resources kind of for healthcare.
Right, sort of, yeah. But I didn't start that company until I got married.
Okay, so we got to go back.
Yeah, just a little bit, but not that far, because I was a sports agent, and then that's how I met my husband. But I always have to clear this up. I feel the need to clear this up. first off, when I met my husband, it was strictly business, and he always said that I was so serious, and that it was always business every time. I don't care where I traveled in the world, it was always business. And then, the funny part of it is I was in Miami and he was in Texas. And he said, seriously, I was in Miami and he was in Texas, and he, along with a couple of other players, called and were checking on me. And he called, and one of the things he said was, hey, I'm single now, and, I just want to play ball, and da-da-da. And I kind of smiled a little bit. I was like, and then 6 months later, after he told me that, we were married.
So he was putting his bid in. He had dual agendas when he called you.
I don't know, but what? Honest, it's so funny because we never joked around like that. We didn't kid like that. It was always business, no matter what. I mean, our phone calls were like quick, to the point, goodbye, and then we get married.
Well, I actually understand this because what he did was, and I'm about to throw you some compliments. So as a man, what he did was he recognized what he needed in life. And so as not to treat it or devaluate it, he didn't approach it in the typical manner. He kept it matter of fact. He probably just sat and judged you out to say, there's a door going to be open, and I want her to understand that I'm serious. So when he came at you, you probably already knew it because your intuition, your spiritual said, when he spoke to you, you knew.
I think so.
You didn't know. Come on.
You know what, Emmett? I might agree with you on that. I'm like,
He pulled a straight Steve Harvey on you.
He did. He sat back and watched.
So tonight when you see him, I want you to walk up to him. And I don't want you to be any kind of intimate like you normally do, kiss him on the cheek. I want you to walk up and go, baby, put your hand out. And he's going to put his hand out. And you're going to say, this is from Emmett. He says, good job.
Job well done.
Yeah. All right. So you were a sports agent.
Mm-hmm.
And you meet your husband. You guys court for a very little while. And then you get married. And... Right. Let me ask you some of the things, because you say you were in a relationship for 12 years that was a victim of domestic violence. So domestic violence comes in various forms. It comes in emotional abuse, it comes in physical abuse, and it comes in both, which is, typically what we associated with that. You've done so much, but usually it's a very damaging thing to someone's self-esteem and someone's self-worth. How did you battle out of that to move forward?
It was really hard. Emmett, the first thing that I want to say is that I'm sure you've talked to many people that have gone through some form of domestic abuse. And one of the things that I want to tell you is that I don't sugarcoat it, because when I was being beat, it wasn't sugarcoated. It was what it was. And so I want you to feel that you could ask me anything about that, because I'm extremely open about that part of my life. And, he did. I was already a little bit self-conscious because at that time I was a very, very small person. And so I was already really self-conscious because I was extremely small. But, I was a small person with a whole bunch of hair. And so, and so that didn't really, really look good, and so he would just really put me down, tell me that people didn't want me. And I think that once I realized that, my mother used to always tell me, you are a child of God first. And I took that. And, for years I let him get me down. But then I battled my way back up, knowing that, I'm a child of God, and there is somebody in this world that is going to love me for who I am, being skinny with all that hair, with all my ambitions. Someone's going to love me for who I am. And too bad that he couldn't see that. And I think, to answer your question, the way I got out of it was just staying positive. And when I made up my mind to get out of it, I didn't look back. I mean, it took me a year. Okay.
Now, at what age did you guys get together from this 12-year fiasco that you went through?
I was in high school when I met him. So he was older than me. He had already went to the military and did, his 4 years. And then he he became a police officer. And when I met him, he was a police officer. And so from the time, I can't really say I have to do it in age, but anyway, it was from 1988 to 2002.
Oh, the classic era of modern hip hop. That's back when I had hair.
Is it? Oh, wow.
I had that soul glow back in the day.
Leaving a little imprint on the pillowcase.
Oh, yeah. Then I went to the flat top fade for a while. So you know how it is. Then I went to the bald R. Kelly, which stayed because the hair never grew back. But so, coming through that, like we understand that not everybody responds in the same way about these kinds of situations. What about your family? Did they have an inkling what was going on? Or, even though people have an inkling, sometimes parents can have a reaction where they're very concerned, but they understand that it's your life. And because I know there's a myriad of things and emotions that tie into there, and I can't judge anybody.
They had, my mother, she had a little bit of an idea, but she didn't know to what magnitude. She didn't know how much, because I kept that to myself. I didn't tell anyone. The only one that knew was my oldest son. And because he was there with me all the time, every time it happened, he was there. And so, and I remember last year I came out, I just wanted to tell my story. And he told me, he said, Mom, I don't want to hear you tell that story. I lived that life. And he took 12 years away from me. And, I don't want to relive it. So he was the only one initially who I told. When, he was, like I said, he was there all the time. And the things that he didn't know when he wasn't there, I would tell him. But I just didn't have the heart to tell my mom. And I was too embarrassed to tell anyone else. So I never did tell anyone else.
How do you think psychologically it affected your children or just those who were in the thick or understood what was going on and felt helpless to make any change to the situation?
Actually, Emmett, my son is a perfect gentleman. He's very educated, very smart, and he is a great guy. And I'm glad that part of his life didn't affect him in any way. I think that every now and again, he I can tell that he's careful about what he says to a woman, because he doesn't ever want to make that woman feel uncomfortable. And the strange part of that is that psychologically, it really did not do anything to me. I think that I had an interview last week where someone sort of asked a similar question, where some women go and they get counseling and some don't. I was a person that did not, but we handle things differently. It doesn't mean that I was better or I was stronger. It's just that I handled that situation very, very differently. And once I started having confidence in myself, I realized that I can get through this. I can do it, but we just handle the situation differently.
Yeah, it's notorious that people of color do not seek counseling when they need it. My wife talked to me. She was like, you're going through a transition, particularly when I got married, because I've been married for 20 some odd years. Then I was single for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Oh boy, did I have fun. And then she was my best friend, and it was like the logical step to do emotionally, spiritually, and physically for us to be together. But it was a transition because I'm an OG. And I'm used to doing what I'm used to doing. So, and I realized that I am always battling with my ego about what's right. I know it's not comfortable, but it's right. In your life, when you talk with your current husband, did you guys have dialogue, or did he kind of take on some of this so he understands what's going on with you, and does it affect you like in your relationship now, or spring its head?
It in a way, I guess it not in a bad way, but there are some things that when we first got together and he moved in, I had my condo was like in order. So you had to leave your shoes at the front. When I left, my bed, the last person out of the bed had to make the bed. My spices had to be turned a certain way. So, and that was because then, back then I was made to have because he was former military.
Yeah.
And so I had to have things in a certain order. And, I guess you could say maybe if you think of it something psychological, maybe that affected me. But after a while, talking to my husband, I actually brought it up to him and I told him what I went through. But still today, he doesn't know everything. And he's actually the one who told me that I needed to tell my story because there are so many women that will be helped.
Yes.
And so he doesn't know everything, but he allows me to tell him things at my time. He doesn't rush me or anything. I think the one thing that he was, adamant about was me telling my story. And when I came out and told my story, believe it or not, I helped more men. Because men came to me and they told me that they were once abusers, or they told me that they were once abused. And, it's not that it's physical all the time. It's emotional, it's psychological, it's financial. And a lot of these guys were the ones who were abusing the women, like verbally abusive. It wasn't physical, but they were thanking me for that. So I actually have to thank my husband for giving me the space to come to be able to speak about this in my own time.
That's really good. Because what we don't talk about, particularly if you are not in a dominant society, is that we are all human and we all experience very much the same attributes as everyone else.
Right.
But because of this marginalization that we have to endure sometimes, we're so focused in on just trying to maintain what we perceive as a status quo that we push these things to the side, and we don't realize that they exist in our own communities, in our own families, in our own surroundings. But you are the epitome of what you can be. And a lot of people might say, I'm not that strong. That's fine. And I know you understand that. But
yes,
what would you say to someone who is listening right now and say, I don't know if I'm as strong as you. I don't know if I can do this. What would you suggest for me? I'm just at a loss. I'm in an abyss.
I thought the exact same thing. And as you could tell, because I was in a relationship for 12 years, I didn't think that I was strong enough to leave. I didn't think that I was going to be, able to leave that relationship because of the financial part of it. You're taking this huge income, and cutting it in half. I didn't think that emotionally I was strong enough, but you just will not believe the type of strength that you have. How sometimes you have mothers, if their kids are trapped in a car, they can get them out. You just be surprised where you find that strength from. And that's what I did. And I didn't care what it took. I would, every day I would be like, God, just help me, give me the strength and knowledge and determination to get out of this situation. And day by day, I began to have confidence in myself, knowing that I can do the things that I could not do. I swallowed my pride and I asked for help. And I slowly started kind of telling people a little bit of what I was going through. I remember telling someone at work, here's my mother's number. If anything happens to me, call her. And to me, that was a big step because I had to tell that person what I was going through. And, I would slowly get I got an extra cell phone. I kept it at work. I slowly started pinching it. Yeah. And that strength, and taking a little bit of money and hiding it because, and I can only take a little bit at a time because I was scared that he would find out that I took a little bit of money. But to me, that was strength. Having the strength to take something and put it aside and know that it's for the future, that it's going to be better. I think that women, they may not believe that they have strength, but back them up into the corner and they will come out fighting. And that's kind of how you have to be. And I think that, people ask me all the time, how did you find that strength? I found it. Every little thing, I found strength in every little thing. I used to have to be at home by 5:30. Being there at 5:35 was strength to me because I didn't come home at 5:30. And he would fuss at me if I would come home at 5:35, but I didn't care. You just have to find strength.
That's a really important thing. And this is one thing that men should understand, because I know this. I've been surrounded by or blessed with a plethora of women from my mom's family and from my extended families. When a woman is done, she is done. There is no candy you can bring. There is no Mercedes or Lexus you can buy her. You can't do anything. When she is done, it is a wrap.
And you're absolutely right, because he couldn't say anything because we had a house. You know what? I wasn't happy in that house. I would be happy if I had my own little apartment, and that house was beautiful on the outside, but on the inside it was very ugly. And so I didn't care about the house. He was just like you said. He would bring me, my favorite snack was brownies, and he would bring me brownies. And it just didn't do anything, But, when I started making my plan in the last year, every time he would bring me something, I would accept it, knowing that this is just temporary. I just got to make him happy just, for this next year while I'm putting my plan together. But you're right. He would try to give me a little bit of extra money, buy something for the house. And after a while, I was done. It didn't matter to me. But believe it or not, Emmett, going through all of that, even when he didn't, if I didn't eat the brownie, I would get smacked in the face. But it's okay. I still managed to be strong and stay strong, knowing that there's something greater than this, right? That I was working on.
So at any time did you guys, or since, let me get my words correct here. Has he done any work on himself or recognized this being that inhabits his physical presence?
Not that I'm aware of. I know that when we were together, I had called the police so many times, and then one time we ended up having to go to court, and the judge sent him to anger management. And here's the funny part of that. He goes to anger management, and they make him draw these pictures. And so they asked him to draw this picture of how he felt about me, and he drew a big black circle that was all just it was all messed up, and that was him. He was angry, and when the way he saw me was just a black circle he just saw me as nothing, but yet he wouldn't let me leave. And he felt like he never needed counseling. He felt like there was nothing wrong. He felt like it was me. He felt like I wasn't being obedient. So in the relationship, he just got a little bit of anger management counseling. After the relationship, I don't think he got anything because he never felt like anything was wrong. He always thought it was me, was something wrong with me.
Did you guys, do you even have that didn't sound right. 4, 3, 2, 1, so I can edit that out. Do you know where it came from? Was it from his family? Was it something he witnessed so he thought that might have been normal? Or was there just, as you said, there was some deep, dark anger that's there? Did he have a clue where the root of it was?
On one of the good days where I was not being beat, I actually asked him. I asked him, why is he so angry? Where did it come from? And he said that when he was in the military, that girls cheated on him all the time. And he also said that men beat his mom all the time. But I also looked at the way he interacted with his mother and his sisters, and it was horrible. I mean, the way they talked, every other word was a cuss word. And I remember lending his sister some money, and I told him, I said, hey, your sister hasn't paid me my money back. When you go over there, will you ask her? Well, he grabbed me and he threw me in the car, and we went to his sister's house, and he beat her until she gave me the money. But that was their relationship, because the following week they had a barbecue. And I didn't understand the dynamic of that relationship. So I think from what he said, it came from him being cheated on in the military, and then his mother being, beat by men as well. And she talked very bad to them, and then just the weird relationship that he had with his sister.
So it's somewhat systemic in his actions. It came from a system of abuse that parlayed into an adult person.
I would say so.
Was he the only male in the family?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, that was one thing my ex-wife said. She said, all right, I think we were probably about late 30s. She was like, well, if you want to have another baby, you better get it in now. I was like, so I thought about it, because I had my wife and my 2 daughters. I said, nope. She was like, you don't want any more kids? I was like, actually, I do. But there's a high probability we will have a little boy, and he will not have a clue how to treat women, because he will get so spoiled in this house.
Yeah.
I was like, no, not going to do it.
Good choice.
I'm like, I'll sit this one out. Now, let me jump topics real quick.
Okay.
And we'll come back, because I really want to discuss Blackline Entertainment Magazine and how that came to be. And I like the name, the acronym for your other company, which was BOSS, Boss. I got that. But how did Blackline come into being? Was it something that was lingering in your mind during the last couple years, decades, months, and you saw an opportunity to do it? Or was it something that was inspired and you said, I think I can do that?
It was a combination of both, actually. I thought about having some type of like a journal or something like that. But I would think about it, leave it alone, think about it, leave it alone. And then, was it 3 years ago, I thought, I love to write. That's what I do. I know so many people, and I think that if I put it together right, I'll have a good support team. And so I actually reached out to GI of H-Town. And I told him that, I was writing a magazine, and, I really would love for you guys, you and Shazam, to be on the front of it. And, I did the magazine, and it came out great. And those guys loved it. And then they told someone else, and then they contacted me. And so it's just kind of been going on since. Now I do it because my schedule is so hectic. And when it comes to the magazine, I'm like, I like to micromanage. And so now I'm kind of doing it just quarterly. It just sort of all came about because I wanted to do something, whether people gravitated towards it or not. It didn't matter to me because it was something that I wanted to do. But I was blessed and fortunate that people do gravitate towards it. And I recently started sort of moving in a different direction with the magazine. Still an entrepreneur's magazine, it's still a celebrity magazine, but now I'm gearing it more towards people that are part of a cause. And so it has the women's network part of it. And I want to talk to women, and I want to empower them But I'm still working with, with men because men are powerful as well. I'm doing a different direction.
Yeah, I'm having a little audio technical difficulties here.
Okay.
But yeah, there you go. So I wanted to ask you something because this is one thing that I feel this. And women have made these great strides. And I noticed this in the 80s when I was on the road traveling and doing some work. And I would go to these businesses and it would be just women there. And I started seeing the progression of women in business. And one in 5 businesses today is owned by a woman. But compounding that, what I don't hear in the lexicon and conversation is about African American men in business anymore. Because usually when I'm looking for something, particularly those of color, what I see is a lot of women's networks, women's groups, girls' nights out, but I don't. There's a lot of girls' nights out. Just go on meetup.com. But I don't see anything where it's community inclusive as much, or I see men of color with the same kind of unity. Is that something you've witnessed as well, and do you? What's your opinion on it?
I kind of do see that a little bit. I think that and this is just my opinion, when I see men coming together, we'll speak of African American men. When I see them coming together, they're coming together because something bad happened, or they're coming together for a certain cause. One little cause. I don't see men doing all these, a man is not going to have a group where it's a spa day for men. They're not going to do that because, they
I'm down for it because my toes look hit.
Right. Men just look at it differently. And I think that's just the macho part of them, and so when they get together, it's like the Million Man March, or is the Black Lives Matter campaign, but the world is so different. The world accepts so many different things. It's no longer like taboo, I guess, if you see a whole lot of men, together in a group, and I think that, men can do a lot of the things that the women do, but I think that the macho part of them, and the macho mental part of them does not allow them to do that, but they still are a powerful force together, and they still are a powerful force when they're with women. They're still a powerful force if they're by themselves. But I think that men can come together and do the exact same thing that women are doing.
You made me think of something from my childhood. So, and it's relatable because my parents divorced when I was very young, but we all lived in the same neighborhood. And as I said, there was a big constituency of women in our family. And then they had girlfriends and they were all a little clique. But women do something, and to this day, they still do it. Women will come over and share clothes and whatever they have with another woman.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I just recently did that with my cousin, and we all got together and I sat in the middle of her closet and we were trying on shoes, and I know men can't do it to that extent.
That will never happen with heterosexual men. We will kill each other even if we thought that we were going in that direction.
So do men, do you guys say, Amy, let me borrow that black shirt I saw you on?
No.
Why not? What's the big deal?
I just brought it up. That's what I'm saying. It made me think of the community between women because white women do it. All the women I've seen in the ethnicities and in the mixed group, they all do it. Girl, them jeans look good on you. Now, I would never go over my warehouse and be like, hey, my man, them skinny jeans you got? You and I are about the same build. Come on. See, you're even laughing at it because it doesn't even sound right on a man.
It sounds funny because you know what? You guys will only do that in the event of an emergency.
Yeah, my pants caught on fire. Let me get them skinny jeans.
something like that. And then if you do that, you're not gonna ever tell. You know what, Emma? This is a secret between us. Don't tell anybody. I'll let you borrow these skinny jeans. Because you're different.
But that's a good observation, and it's really it takes me back to a time that doesn't exist anymore, a time of community, because instead of us coming together as a nation, we've torn apart, because we used to be very segregated in this world, where you had people of color living in certain neighborhoods, people of certain ethnicities, say Irish, Jewish, so forth, and they developed their own bonds of community. But then when we started to mingle, our community kind of fractured a great deal, where we don't keep our customs and things. So now our children are just in a free-for-all. But I think we can still persevere. And with people like you who are venturing forward and offering knowledge and experience and wisdom, because I was on the 6-Minute Stepdads podcast, and please go to the 6minutestepdad.com. And I was talking, we're not only just parents, we are a term that is no longer used in the modern vernacular, which is we are elders. So it is not only up to us, we are there to raise, we are the village that has to raise everyone else. So it's up to us to really impart this stuff. And there's also another thing that you impart, is that you are doing things that are not in the cookie cutter. And you know what I mean by this. Yeah. When you probably said to somebody, I'm going to start a magazine, they looked at you like you were absolutely crazy.
They did. They did. It was not, I have to tell you, the launch of my magazine did not go like I wanted it to go. And and it is because I like to help, for one. I think that I firmly believe in order to be successful, you have to help other people. And I like to help. And I think that I went above and beyond in trying to help someone launch, I guess, their career and help me launch my magazine on this particular day. And, once everything got going, it worked in that person's favor and not mine. That person was happy, but I was disappointed. But I think in situations like that, it should not stop you from helping people, but it does make you aware of, that person. It doesn't mean that everyone is like that person, and you continue to help people. And when it's like one of my mentors is the VJ, and the VJ is a philanthropist and a billionaire. And he was on the last issue of my magazine. And he told me one day, he said that success is all about helping people. And, just because one person does you one way doesn't mean you don't help the people. And I think that's how you have to look at it all the time. I mean, like I just said, when I launched my magazine, people were like, what? There's too many magazines out here. But yeah, but there's not one like mine. So you got to ignore all the naysayers.
So we were talking earlier about, some of the domestic abuse that you endured for 12 years.
Right.
And as I was preparing for this, I prepared some questions I haven't even gotten to yet.
Hey, I'm here. Take your time.
Because we've just been talking. But the first thing that came to my mind is, as a woman, so you qualify as a double minority. That's what came to my mind. And I said, as a double minority, what challenges did you face? Because they can be two separate things. You can go through some challenges, A, because you're a woman and you were born with a specific reproductive system. And B, you can go through some things because you're a person of color. C, you can go through things because both of those components spur something in someone else to react a certain way. What did you, or are there any specific instances where you had said, why am I going through this? Oh, and have those moments?
You know, I know that this is going to be so controversial, and it's not something that I would normally say, but you know, sometimes I sit down and I talk to my husband and I talk to my son, and we just talk about a lot of things. You know, I think one of the biggest issues that I face is having problems with my own people. You know, and it's so funny, you know. See how I made you laugh?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I've never experienced racism ever. I never have. You know, but I get so much static and so much heat from my own people. And I to this day, I don't understand it. I don't understand why we can't support each other. I don't, you know, and I don't have that moment where I'm like, oh, okay, Emmett, I get it. I know why. You know, I just think that we are only interested in things that we are interested in. And if someone doesn't like what you do, then they're not going to support what you do because they're not interested in it.
Actually, I could concur with that wholeheartedly, because you can kind of see who I am. You can kind of see who my feel. You can hear how I speak. So, you know, I get a lot of flack. As a matter of fact, you know, people were just like, why are you doing that? I'm like, because I can.
Right, exact. Great answer. Because you can.
It's because it sparkled to me. There's something shiny over there, which kind of saved my life because I came from that era of the New Jack era.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You know, where the rock stars were king.
Yes, gotcha.
And a lot of those people are not present on this earth, or they're not present in body because they are stuck in a storage facility for human beings. Right. Having said that, you know, I realized that there's this trajectory that if you follow your heart, it will give you the most peace on this earth. And following your heart can often mean going against the grain of the normalcy of your community.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be anything overt and huge. You can just be like, well, you know, I actually like to listen to Kenny Loggins music. And people are like, what? I'm like, listen, we got 2 Chainz over here. And I'm like, I really don't like that. But it just could be, being yourself can be a problem. And I understand what you said, because as a business owner myself, I actually was far more prosperous when I moved out of my own community. Mm-hmm. I mean, exponentially prosperous.
And it's sad that it's like that. But, you know, like you said, you have to do what you love and not what someone else loves, you know. And I think that if I listened to other people, I wouldn't have a magazine. I probably would not have married my husband. I would be working on 8 to 5, and that's not what I wanted to do, but I would be there because people said that's what you should do in life. You know, you work an 8 to 5 job, you get married, you have a kid, and that's what you do. And I cannot see myself. And, you know, actually, Emma, sometimes I ask my husband, I'm like, how can people work an 8 to 5 job and go home, cook dinner, watch TV, go to bed, do it all over again? I can't do that. I am so not made up like that. So I'm glad I do not listen to other people. I mean, I'm like what Steve Harvey said, when you jump, I've gone to the cliff and I've jumped so far, and the wind is beneath my wings. And I've made mistakes, but that's okay. That's me hitting the rocks, but then still getting out there and I'm still flying. And I don't understand why people don't fly.
Yeah. So how many children do you have?
I have 3. I have 3 boys.
And so you got off easy.
I got off so easy.
You got off so easy. Oh my goodness, you got off easy. So
I know, I'm so blessed.
So my children now, because I claim them all. You know, if you feed them, they look like you.
Oh yeah.
So I just acquired like 2.5. So I have a 33-year-old, a 25-year-old, almost 26, a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a sometime 15-year-old who is not even who is Austrian.
I have one of those.
Yeah, my family is dynamic. And I actually said this to my wife. I was like, this would be a cool idea. I was like, if I could literally get everybody that I've fed or partially fed or clothed or something, which means my ex-wife, my daughters, my grandchildren, their prospective spouses and old spouses, your ex-husband, and all the kids, and then just have me in the background and be like, what's the key to this puzzle? The bald head guy in the back.
That guy way back there in the back. He gets no credit.
I mean, it's true. I get the big piece of chicken, but that's how it is. Let's go back again. So now I want to move back into your psychological trauma that you endured. And the only reason I'm laughing at it is because it's a social laugh. I'm not making light of it.
It's good we can laugh about it.
When you were going through that, what were your dreams?
Going through that, my dreams were, part of it was at that time I had tried out for the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And, I was a cheerleader in middle school, cheerleader in high school, and I made it. Well, I didn't go back because, I was in that relationship. And I was forced not to go back.
Yeah, he would have lost his mind.
Yeah, and I didn't want him running on the football field. And yeah, he wouldn't let me go, and he called me all kind of names. And when I got the phone call, I got a beating that night, and I never did go. Didn't show up, and I told myself, you know what, I'm glad I didn't go because something could have happened to me while I was there. But I didn't think about, I would have been, more happier. I would have been fulfilling the dream that I had. And I think once that dream was over, I then thought, you know what, I want to have my own business. I just, at that time, I didn't know, what I wanted. And then it got to the point where my dream was just to be happy. And that's all I wanted to do was to be happy. If I would be so happy if I just lived in, a little cardboard box and me and my son, but we were happy.
You just wanted peace.
I just wanted peace. And, and I always dreamt about peace and love and being happy.
I want to know one other thing, and this is off because I'm always, when I'm in these interviews and conversations, I'm always online looking at the people so I can just be kind of immersed in who you are.
Yeah.
I see like 6 pictures of you online, and all 6 of them look different.
Do they?
They look like different people in every picture.
It's just
what is this? What is it? These late, as of late, I've been interviewing these chameleon women who are different in parts of the day or the week. But no, I give kudos to you because there's one picture where you're kind of like laughing and you got your hands together. Is that your husband in the picture?
That's my husband.
He's a big boy.
He's a big guy.
Yeah, I bet you have to cook 2 chickens for that man.
Yeah, on a farm.
And you guys are in Texas, correct?
Yes, we are. We're in Texas.
Were you always a Texan?
Always. I was born and raised in Texas, and so was he.
Yeah, you do have that twang.
Do I really?
I can hear it because I think it's because I travel. I can too. I could tell you probably went to a cotillion or 2.
Yeah, hey. That's Shay.
See? I know. Well, my relatives are from Memphis. So,
okay.
Every summer I had to go there and get ingratiated with that. What do you plan to do in the future outside of the magazine or whatever endeavor that you come in? What is your plan to give back so that you can shed more light on this? What is your process for it?
Well, I recently started the Network of Women, and it's just a group of women from all walks of life. And my goal is to empower women to be confident, and those women that are longing for that confidence and how to get it. I want to teach them and show them how to get that confidence. Say what they mean and mean what they say. And I think that women. I'm not going to say necessarily women, but we cannot always be yes people, because that means we're saying no to something. And so we can't always be yes people. We got to know when to say yes, when to say no. And I just want to empower women to be the best that they can be, because it took me a long time to feel confident, to feel powerful. And sometimes I think that every now and again, if you look at my personal Facebook timeline, you'll see that sometimes I say that I'm amazing, and then you'll see my friends commenting on it. You don't always have to say you're amazing. Yes, I do. I'm amazing. I feel amazing. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I have great friends and I have great family, and I'm making friends every day. Like I got Emmett now, so I'm amazing. So don't tell me I'm not amazing, because I am.
Oh yeah. Cause I'm going to hit you up. As soon as my plane lands, I'm like, I am here.
Hey, I'm here in Texas.
Or I heard you coming to Chicago. I heard you're in Detroit. Let's hook up. No, I would literally like to contribute to your cause in Black Line if there's anything that I can do.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh, definitely. I definitely would like to maintain contact with you, because you are like my mentor said, a platform of power, and having these interviews and you interviewing people, you're putting me on a platform, and so because of that, you're helping me. So that just, that makes you a successful person. And I definitely, have to give kudos to you for what you are doing.
Well,
I think yes, you are amazing.
When I say that, they just go, Daddy, you're so arrogant. I go, yeah. I'm an only child too.
Let me say it a little bit louder.
So what do you have in the pipeline we know that now that you're going to give back to your community and your community of women, and possibly affect community of men, because they will see themselves in some of the situations that you were in. What do you plan to do with the business? What's your trajectory for that?
Well, the business, it's funny you should say that, because on July 8th, we actually start the pre-production for our local TV show. And so I will actually be bringing in people to interview on the show, and that will also help me bring in men, I would like to do a podcast, a live podcast with people like you, to help motivate men, because, I know there are a lot of young men now that are being raised by women. But I would like to hear the men's point of view from a lot of things, because if you look at social media, you'll hear women say, oh, he's this, he's that, he's a deadbeat, da da da. But there are so many great men. But I want to hear from men.
I do know. Actually, I came through this when I was, in relationship limbo. I would like to say relationship fun zone. That's what I was. But during that time, there were some women that we just became really good friends. Uh-huh. And I would ask them these questions, because the game had changed since I had gotten married.
Right.
I used to be the aggressor. Now I'm being stalked. And I asked my one friend, I said, hey, what are you looking for in a man? Why can't you find a man? You're a nice woman. She was like, well, most of the men who have their salt, they got ganged up quick. And, and because they were on about their business, they know that they have to take care of their family. They know this, that, and the other. So she said, a lot of times what's left out of here is this generation of men who, A, have been raised predominantly by women, so they don't understand a relationship. It seems really great on the onset, but as you get deeper into it, there's a lot of emotional learning. And when I say emotional, I'm not talking about just day-to-day things. I'm talking about really deep things that I'm going through now, and I can examine because of my age and where I've come from and just the kind of person I am. But also, there's a lot of men who've been coddled.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they expect almost everything from a woman because in their earlier life, everything was provided to them singularly by a woman. So that's their norm. So when they get into a relationship, it's just if anyone's seen it, the best analogy I can give or example is the movie Baby Boy where they actually dissect some of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's narrative of her book, The ISIS Papers, that describes some of this stuff. So I think for you, thank you so much for actually thinking about it. And I hope I can just plant a seed that you open something up for men to identify. And because I realize now, and I'm rambling a lot.
Oh, no, keep going.
At the age of 51, or almost 51 on July 4th.
You don't look 51, you look good. You look very good.
That's what happens when you get really pretty women around you that are smart. But I realize now, and my mother passed away when I was about 30. So I didn't have the wherewithal to ask her the questions that I needed to ask her. So now I have to sit back and reflect and dissect the way I act because I was raised by a single parent who had very conservative views on life, extremely conservative views in my presence. As she got older, I saw her kind of blossom out a little bit, but then it all changed because she was gone. But now I can look at other people and say, your mom raised you.
Right.
And you never saw your dad. Although I saw my dad, he had remarried, but I can piecemeal together what it is. But here's the key, and I understand this now because I'm on my second marriage, and my wife is so emotionally intelligent, and I say this almost every podcast, that she is my guidepost to develop at this stage from where I was.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a blessing. You're blessed.
But you have to recognize it. That's the understanding, is that you have to recognize that you're not in a place of wholeness when you're in a relationship with a person and you don't have any viable examples to go by.
Right.
Because that's how you learn your ABCs. You learn by example. That example, well, I can deduct something from that because of that example. If you don't have that, then you don't have a proper foundation. And either you can search for it consciously or react to it unconsciously, which is what most people do.
Right.
So what's next in the next 60 days?
In the next 60 days, like I said, we're going to start our pre-production for BTV on July 8th. We'll be doing live interviews and on site interviews.
I'm going to tell you why I'm laughing. Say the name of your television again.
BTV.
All right. Now spell it.
Blackline Television.
I will leave it alone.
That's how you spell it.
I know, but that's not how you see it.
What's up? What's wrong with BTV? It's a letter B, a T, and a V.
But in the perception of my mind, I saw BETV.
No.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
No.
I like how you went.
So we'll have BTV. I'm actually working on a podcast. I know on BTV. I really, really, really want to do I really want to do a show with men. because I personally, although I'm married, I still have questions for men, because there are men that are bringing up men, and then there are men, families, a husband and wife bringing up girls that are going to be ladies, and I just want to, have these worlds kind of come together.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing the television show. I'm in the middle of writing a book, and I'm finishing. Of course, I'm updating my website as much as I can. I try my best to update it. And then I have a network of women, so I stay pretty busy.
Well, good. I'm going to give you some ideas when we go off air. But if you ever need a correspondent in the Great Lakes region, I'll be here for you.
Yes. I want one. I'm telling you now. I'm putting that in the universe to you. So I'm always told to put stuff in the universe.
I will handle. Let me see here. From where I sit, I am 5 hours away from Detroit. I'm less than 5 hours away from these major cities: Milwaukee, Chicago, Detroit, Cincinnati, Cleveland, St. Louis. And what's the city in? Yeah, I think that's, what was in Kentucky? Louisville.
Okay.
And Indianapolis. So if you need a Midwest guy, I'm that dude.
I'm looking for that Midwest guy.
We can work that out. All right. Now, here's the last bit. We're going to close this out because we've run long, because I usually have them about a half an hour, 40 minutes, but that's okay because we had some great stuff. Now, close your eyes.
Eyes closed.
So you're sitting on your couch. You're by yourself. Your husband's gone. Your boys are gone. You're just like sitting there. You got your feet in the little massage thing. You watching your episode of Scandal.
Oh yeah.
You got a little glass of Moscato.
Yep.
You just settle in and you hear the doorbell and you go, "Arr!" And you get up and you walk over to the door and you open the door and there's a 21-year-old you standing on the other side of the door. And that 21-year-old you says, "What information do you have for me to get me through?"
I would say, go do it. Go do it. Don't let anyone stop you from what you want to do, because there's no guarantee that you will get an invitation to tomorrow. So go do it. Whatever it is that's in your heart, go do it. And if you fail at it, great. More knowledge. Do it again.
Awesome. See, that was simple. All right, I want to thank you for being on the show, but I always close it out like this. I really want you guys to understand something, and I really need you to take this to heart. Even if only 2 people listen to this podcast, or 2 billion people listen to the podcast, this message is literally for you. There's going to be a day, there's going to be a moment, there's going to be a few hours where you're not feeling it. There's going to be a time when you literally are feeling, I'm not worthy. There might be a time where you be like, I'm about to check out, and you might not even do it. You just think about it. I want you to do this. At a time like that, I want you to go into your bathroom, and you can do this daily, and I want you to turn the light on so you can see clearly. And I want you to look in your face, and I want you to sit there for about anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, and I want you to just look at your face. I want you to look in the eyes of the eyes looking at you, and I want you to see all those little brown, blue, fluorescent speckles that are in your face, because that is the depths of your soul, and in that soul, it contains and controls 1 billion cells. It's had 1 billion emotions. It's had 1 billion thoughts. It's had 1 billion breaths. It's had billions of many things, which makes you a billionaire, which makes you worth a great deal and brings a lot of value to this world. There's only one simple thing you have to do, and it's all encompassed in one thing. It's love yourself. And in that, when you love yourself, you appreciate yourself. You give yourself the patience so you can get through some things. But remember, if that's not enough for you, I want you to think about my voice and say, that guy loves me. Until next time, peace.